Switzerland's largest bank, UBS, posted its first yearly profit since 2006. But its bankers may not feel like celebrating, at least right this second. UBS said it reduced its bonus pool by 10%, but salaries on the flip side are up, and total comp did increase in the last year. Gary Goldstein is with us now. He is president of Whitney Group. It's an executive search firm for the financial services industry, and he is right beside me here in the newsroom. Gary, thanks so much for coming in. So this is a real mixed bag of tricks, right? The bonus pool is down 10%, but salaries are higher and total comp at UBS is up. So what does an employee who's there make of the situation?
Well, it's not just the numbers, it's how the compensation is being structured. It remains to be seen. They haven't actually announced what they're doing in terms of deferred comp this year, but there's a trend right now, particularly among the European banks, to postpone as much of the payout as they can, and I think that's really where people have a real issue.
Well, you mentioned postpone. I mean, we do know for some people it is actually going to be over a 2 to 3 year period. Sort of 60% of what they would ordinarily be paid is going to be deferred, and if you're in upper management, it seems even a greater sum, even 75% up to that amount. But still, on average, are making $420,000 at UBS. I mean, even if your pool is cut by 10%, does that give you enough outrage to want to go and look for another job?
Well, you have to understand their bonuses were significantly off last year relative to many of their competitors. So it may be up in terms of overall comp this year, but I don't think they've actually caught up to some of their competitors.
Gary, you talk to a lot of people, so you seem to be implying that the European banks that are working in the U.S. and have American employees, maybe those employees are more dissatisfied with their pay than with their peers at American banks. Is that the case?
I think that's true. I think there's a lot more shareholder pressure and regulatory imposition in Europe than there is here in terms of really monitoring compensation.
You know, you talk to a ton of people, so I'm just interested in what the tone is like. I mean, how aggressive are people when they call you? Do they say, I'm fed up, I know I'm going to make less than I did in the past, 3 years, and I've just had it? And then what is that tone like? And then what is the tone like from your client's point of view, that is to say the bigger banks?
Well, compensation is one of the significant drivers in terms of people's decision to make a move or to leave where they are. I think it's broader than that. I think there's this general sense that bankers are being vilified universally. I think it's even more so in Europe. I think the big banks have a real issue with it. They're getting a lot of pressure from regulators and from shareholders. And I think there's just this sense that if I'm going to be in this business, I may as well go somewhere where I'm appreciated, where
How many great jobs, though, Gary, are out there? Let's just say you're annoyed enough to go and look for another job. I mean, how many great, interesting jobs are there out there right now?
Well, that's a loaded question. I'm not sure what great is, but...
Well, something that's interesting, something where you feel like you're being paid fairly, let's just say for someone who has about 15 years experience, so a professional.
Well, I think there are a lot of smaller firms, boutiques that have come up over the last couple of years that are interesting. I think they have an interesting angle, they have an interesting product or industry focus. I think there are a number of firms that are not that mature yet that are coming into this market,
and you
taking
feel
advantage
like they
of
are
it.
in a position to hire and they are in a position to pay competitively?
I think they have less constraints, and I think they have the ability to pay people on a higher percentage because they have less overhead. They don't have businesses that they're subsidizing, particularly the boutique firms and particularly the privately held boutique firms. So I think there's still a lot of opportunities out there for people to create wealth and to get paid well.
Can you quantify at all how many clients have reached out to you to lead a search? How many are from boutique firms and how many are from the top tier banks?
To be honest, we haven't done as much with the so-called bulge bracket in the last year or so. Most of my client base has really been middle market firms or foreign banks coming into the market, maybe 7, 8 different firms that I've been working with.
Okay. Gary, thanks so much for coming in. Gary Goldstein joining us there. He is president of Whitney Group.